Now, you just gave us um, vital information for the adolescent to break the silence. What about the adult that's living in fear and don't even trust as well? That's underneath. That's in their 30s or under 30.
I would say first to any adult that's facing a sexual assault, rape, or anything of that sort, the first thing I would suggest you to do is to tell someone as close as your physician, voice that to co-worker or supervisor on your job, someone who can step in, someone who really may not even be around your normal social setting in your life, such as your husband or wife, or your sisters or brothers, or your mom or dad. It may be that you may need to take it to someone in a professional setting, someone who may not be a part of your everyday life, if I'm making sense, but that you're able to reach out and they will show concern. Someone that is emotionally attached to you, sister, brother, or relative, may not take what you're saying as serious, depending who the person is. The reason I say that is because 9 times out of 10, the people who are actually sexually assaulted, who are adults, are actually assaulted by someone they actually know.
Okay, so you're actually saying, so because there is a lack of, can I say, advocacy,
yes,
for individuals. You know, if we're gonna befriend someone, are we really friends with who we consider friends? I mean, if you have a friend and they're really your friend, open up to them, and they should have the ability to take it to the next step for you to actually get healing for what you're actually going through. Because sexual assault is not easy in this hour, and we're living in 2011 now. You know, people are getting sexually assaulted, but they're coming out with STDs. They're coming out with being HIV positive. You know, dealing with all type of mental breakdowns. We're dealing with a whole lot of issues that we really didn't have to deal with some years ago, and we're living in a real different type of era. And saying that, going to the next statistics, it says approximately 2 out of 3 of assaults are committed by someone known to the victim, as you said earlier. But it says 38% of rapists are a friend or a friend or someone you know, and you actually just said that. So it's almost alarming. It's almost really alarming that the trust level has gone down within the U.S. And we're just going to talk about the U.S. right now, because if we consider someone that we trust and we consider them friend, brother, authority figure, why is it? What is the issue at hand that? And now I believe that's why people live in such a silent mode, or they get into that mode of isolation, and they or they go the other way and be really out there and
promiscuous,
and do some crazy things. And now I can really understand why people do what they do. And the question is, I did ask the question of how you break the silence, but do you believe in therapy?
Of course, 100%. See, if I could express this, in the African American community, we are the type of community that what goes on in our house stays in our house. And truth be told, that's because we've experienced so much right within our own families, such as incest, abuse, being abused by stepfathers, grandfathers, whoever is doing the abusing, usually it's right within the family. So for you to come out and say, I need help, for you to make it known that there's a problem going on in my house, makes the family look bad, makes, of course, the family to be broken up now, because at some point we have to get rid of the abuser.
I have a question. Now, during the many years that, you know, I talk to people on the phone, on the internet, and on, you know, any ways of communicating, I really have found, and we're going to take it a step further, and this is not to offend anyone at all, but we're going to step into the church realm, okay? People, and I mean over 10 years now, I have talked to many people, thousands of people that have been turned out in the church arena. And we're not even talking about Catholics, because we already know that that go down in history right about now. But let's talk about the Baptist church, the Black, African, American, Latino community churches that is still a taboo.
Right. Sexuality has always been a problem within the Christian church. It is the #1 sin that everybody is struggling with. There's problems all throughout the Christian church with sexuality, and that stems from a multiplicity of things. That stems from married couples being unfaithful. That stems from homosexuality within the church, and nobody understands this and that, and this behavior and that behavior. This is an abomination. This is a sin. Even having a baby before marriage is a hot mess within the church, but everybody's still having babies and nobody's married within the church. So what is the problem? The problem goes back to, again, knowing how to cover ourselves as individuals, protecting ourselves, protecting our family, not being able to deal with some of the issues that do surface within our life on the onset.
So, when it comes to the church and leadership, because, and I can just use me as just a personal experience, I got turned out in the church of the living God. Okay, I was turned out in the church, and at that point, it's like, okay, I've been molested when I was young, but now, okay, I got body and all this other stuff, and the predators of the church turned me out. And my question is, how do people trust it again when it comes to authority figures? And we're talking about children as well as adults, because I know adults that still get turned out in the church.
Well, there's
men and women.
There's a few things I want to say today. #1, within the church, anybody that is dealing with a problem with their flesh, promiscuity or homosexuality or anything of that nature, has this, what I call, sixth sense about anyone else who has been pre-exposed to it or has that type of nature themselves, where they may not even be someone who is sexually active in the sense of same sex or any sex or whatever, but they have this sexual persona about them that attracts. This is like a signal, like a radar that goes off for a sexual predator, that these type of people, I'm not going to say that it's anything that these people have done that draws them, but the predator themselves can sense something about that person and will say things like this: let me mentor you. Let me be a mentor to you. Let me be a spiritual mother to you or a spiritual father to you. And before you know it, you are trusting because you're yielding yourself, thinking I finally have someone who can help me be a better person or be all that it is that I want to be. And they'll use whatever your gifts are against you. You know, in a sense, if you're a musician, if you're a preacher, you're aspiring to preach, to teach, to do anything, whatever it is that you are aspiring to do, they'll swear that they can mentor you. And truth be told, sometimes they are mentoring you, but the abuse comes in with the sexual activity.
So what would you say to the person now, the adult that's in the church, that left the church, that don't want to have nothing to do with leadership at all? Is there still hope for that individual to for healing to come out of them? What would you say for some steps, if you have any suggestions of steps of healing for that individual?
Well, the first thing I would say to any person, any adult, any individual that is experiencing that and going through that, the first thing I would say to you is go in. And what I mean by that is that you have to start going within yourself to find whatever your reasons are. Because we can sit here and give you statistics, we can sit here and give you an analysis, we can sit here and give you a synopsis of other cases like yours, but nobody knows your case like you know it. So the first thing I would say is go in. Find the answers within yourself. And sometimes you may take a long time to find those answers, but go in and search yourself and find out what are those things that trouble you the most about what you experience. The second thing I would say to a person that is going through that is, as the word says, work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling. So we, yes, have had some things that have come against us or that has happened to us within church, but guess what? That may have nothing to do with the person who made the offense against you. You still have a responsibility as being a person who confessed Christ to be able to get over or to overcome whatever you have to face in life. The third thing I would say to you, or apply this principle of scripture to that situation, is that the scripture says, what shall separate me from the love of Christ? So there's so many things that we're going to face in life. It could be depression, it could be illness, it could be sickness, it could be so many things that we face. And sexual abuse is like one of, it just drives a stench. It drives such a pain. And I'm not making light or little of that pain, because that pain is something that takes years sometimes to overcome. So you should never allow the pain of what you have experienced by sexual abuse within even the Christian church to allow you to separate yourself from God, because God had nothing to do with that preacher that touched you. God had nothing to do with that choir member that touched you. God had nothing to do with whoever was your offender. He had nothing to do with that. That's a person that has some issues within themselves that need to be dealt with. And I'm so sorry that you had to experience that.
Well, this is only part one of the Second Chance show. And we're going to return back with more of this hot topic because we are far by none finished with this, because we have a lot to actually deal with in this manner, and believe that there is hope and healing for you.
If you've enjoyed this edition of The Michael London Show, you can support by logging on to Facebook and joining the fan page, The Michael London Show. You can also add us on Twitter, www.twitter.com/MichaelLondonTV. Thanks, you guys.